In the shadow of the American dream, a harsh reality unfolded, a reality that challenged the very core of the nation's ideal. As the United States emerged as a beacon of freedom and democracy, a dark undercurrent flowed through its history, one that bound millions in chains and denied them the most basic human right. This is the story of the black worker in America, a story of struggle, resilience, and the enduring impact on the nation's economic and social fabric. From the earliest days of colonial America, the arrival of African slaves marked the beginning of a complex and often brutal relationship between black labor and white prosperity. In the 16th century, the first African slaves were brought to the Americas, and by the 17th century, the institution of slavery had become deeply entrenched in the colonial economy. These men and women, torn from their homes and families, were sold into a life of endless toil, their labor fueling the growth of tobacco, rice, and sugar plantations. As the colonies grew, so did the demand for slave labor. The 18th century saw a dramatic increase in the number of African slaves brought to America, with the slave trade peaking in the late 18th and early 19th centuries. By 1860, on the eve of the Civil War, the black population in the United States had swelled to over 4 million, with the vast majority held in bondage. These workers were not just a source of labor. They were a central thread in the tapestry of American history, their lives and struggles intertwined with the nation's economic and social development. The paradox of slavery in a land that proclaimed the equality of all men was a source of deep unease for many Americans. The Founding Fathers, who drafted the Constitution, grappled with this contradiction. They sought to sidestep the issue of slavery, hoping it would gradually fade away. However, the economic realities of the time made this impossible. The invention of the cotton gin in 1793 revolutionized the cotton industry, making the cultivation of cotton more profitable and increasing the demand for slave labor. By the mid-19th century, the South's economy was heavily dependent on cotton, and the labor of enslaved African Americans was the backbone of this industry. The economic importance of slavery extended far beyond the southern states. Northern manufacturers and merchants profited from the cotton trade, and the international market for cotton helped fuel the Industrial Revolution in Europe. The wealth generated by slave labor was not confined to the plantations. It permeated the entire American economy, creating a system that was deeply intertwined with the institution of slavery. Despite the economic benefits, the moral and ethical questions surrounding slavery could not be ignored. Abolitionists, both black and white, began to challenge the status quo, arguing that slavery was a violation of human rights and a stain on the nation's conscience. The abolitionist movement gained momentum in the early 19th century, with figures like Frederick Douglass, Harriet Beecher Stowe, and John Brown becoming prominent voices in the fight against slavery. The tensions between the North and the South over the issue of slavery eventually erupted into the Civil War. The war, which lasted from 1861 to 1865, was a defining moment in American history. The Union's victory and the subsequent passage of the 13th Amendment in 1865 officially ended slavery in the United States. However, the emancipation of the slaves did not bring an end to the challenges faced by black Americans. The Reconstruction era, which followed the Civil War, was marked by efforts to rebuild the South and integrate freed slaves into society. However, these efforts were met with resistance, and the period saw the rise of Jim Crow laws, which enforced racial segregation and discrimination. The legacy of slavery continued to shape the lives of black workers in the post-Civil War era. Many former slaves found themselves working as sharecroppers, tied to the land by debt and economic dependency. The Great Migration of the early 20th century saw millions of African Americans leave the South in search of better opportunities in the industrial cities of the North. This migration transformed the demographics of American cities and played a significant role in the development of the labor movement and the civil rights movement. Throughout the 20th century, black workers continued to face significant barriers to economic and social equality. The civil rights movement of the 1950s and 1960s, led by figures like Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X, brought renewed attention to the struggles of black Americans. The movement achieved significant legal victories, including the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which helped to dismantle the legal structures of racial segregation. However, the struggle for economic and social equality remains ongoing. Today, black workers face persistent challenges, including higher unemployment rates, lower wages, and limited access to quality education and healthcare. The legacy of slavery and its aftermath continues to influence the economic and social landscape of the United States, highlighting the need for continued efforts to address the systemic issues that have shaped the lives of Black Americans for centuries. In the shadow of the American dream, the story of the black worker is a testament to the enduring human spirit. Despite the challenges and setbacks, Black Americans have played a vital role in the development of the nation, contributing to its economic growth and social progress. As the nation continues to grapple with the complexities of its history, the story of the black worker serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of justice, equality, and human dignity. In the end, the story of the black worker in America is a story of resilience and hope. It is a story that continues to unfold, shaping the future of a nation that strives to live up to its ideals.